You ever see stuff you can't explain?
This came from somewhere else.
The whole fleet of them, they're all going against the wind.
Life elsewhere in the universe is virtually a certainty.
CIA monkey business.
That was awful strange.
Welcome.
Hey, welcome to Take Me to Your Dealer.
Welcome. I'm Talia.
I'm Laura. You know.
Today we're talking about...
Project Blue Book, a.k.a. Project Sign, a.k.a. Project Grudge, a.k.a. Project Blue Balls.
Yeah, listen. So the U.S. Air Force was studying UFOs.
They were studying UFOs, sort of. I mean, basically the whole thing was just like a big fucking disinformation, debunking, discrediting bullshit machine that they were just spewing out there, just spewing bullshit. And they know it. They knew it. That's it.
Yeah. You guys might have heard about Project Blue Book. The government has been studying UFOs for decades, and the program was called Project Blue Book. And it kind of has become this story about the Air Force investigating UFOs and then just basically deciding that UFOs aren't a legitimate concern. And people will talk about it a lot to like discredit UFO reports. But in reality, it was a total debunking campaign. That's all it was.
They were not bunked. They were not drinking the bunk juice. They were actively poisoning the bunk juice, actually. And, we'll never forgive them for it. We'll never forgive them.
No, we will not.
The only reason that we really even know about all of this, well, one of the reasons is because of a book. It's called The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects by retired Air Force Captain Edward J. Ruppelt.
Who also coined the term UFO.
He's the granddaddy master UFO man. He fucking,
I don't know.
That's his coinage.
He lost his way towards the end there.
He did, yeah. He became lost. He became, disenchanted. And I mean, he was never really enchanted, I think. But yeah, Is
he still around? Can we rebunk him?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
Not if I have anything to do with it.
He'd be really old.
Yeah, too old to bunk.
So
yeah, let's talk about how it began, what, started all of this wildness.
Yeah, why? Why did the government decide to start studying UFOs? It's freaking crazy.
Well, I don't know if you've heard about a little year called 1947.
No, what was going on in 1947?
It was a good year. It was a big year, best year. That's when I was born. And yeah, basically it was a good year for UFOs, fucking aliens were having a great time that year. They were flying around fucking unhinged.
They really were.
Unhinged, unchecked. We gotta talk about our boy Kenny Arn.
Yeah. So I mean, to set the stage a little bit, we're in 1947. World War II had just ended. The U.S. is in like the very early stages of a Cold War, and everyone's a little on edge.
Just a little, you can imagine the scene is a little like, oh shit, oh man, I just lost my whole family in World War II, and now I gotta worry about nukes. Oh,
perfect.
And now aliens. Oh,
all right, great. Yeah, so Kenny Arnold heads up in his airplane. He's an experienced pilot.
Hold on,
did
he like the name Kenny?
I don't know.
I feel like Kenny was not like a 40s name.
Like, what did they call him?
Kenneth, I think, just full name.
They couldn't have called him Kenneth.
Yeah,
it's too much.
It's a lot. It's hard to say too. I don't know. We're just calling him Kenny Arn.
So Arnie heads up there in his plane near Mount Rainier in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
It's June 1947, and eventually, just in the summer of 1947, there would be more than 800 UFO reports.
Yeah.
But still,
it was fucking UFO summer.
Sighting,
it was hot UFO summer. It really was.
It was. Still, out of all those reports, Ken's would be the most credible. He is a very reliable witness, And he
was not on the hooch. He was not.
He wasn't on the hooch.
No, I thought he was on the hooch for a long time, but then further research proved that he was not.
What made you think he was on the hooch?
I don't know. I assumed everybody in that time, in that year, was on the hooch. Like water, wasn't a thing or something.
No, he had a ton of credibility. He knew what he was doing. He gets up there, and he sees nine flying objects.
Yeah, unusual,
crazy,
crescent-shaped objects, and they were flying in a fucking V formation,
like geese,
like fucking geese or some shit.
But going 1,200 miles per hour.
Yeah, no big deal.
Not like geese.
No big deal. Can you imagine if you saw a goose just flying that fast? It'd be pretty hard for that goose to do that, I think. The AP picked up that story, right? Because he obviously saw these things. He was, pretty blown away by it. He told the AP, I guess. He reported it. He wanted people to know. He needed the people to know. And the AP picked it up and actually mistakenly thought that he said saucers for some reason. Because, it's like...
Well, he said flat like a pie plate.
Oh, yeah. And then they were like a saucer. I don't really know
what's the difference, really?
I don't know what this fucking 40s terminology is, dude. I
don't know what a saucer is.
I don't know what a saucer is. I don't know what a pie plate is. What is a pie plate? A plate specifically for
pie? Plate makes pie. Does a saucer make sauce?
No, I can't. I can't deal with all these unique fucking plates. All right, it's like one plate for everything. Anyway, so that's where the term flying saucer came from. Flying saucer came from the AP.
He also described it weirdly as similar to a fish flipping in the sun. It was moving around real weird.
Ew, nasty. That's gross. Kenny Arn.
Yeah, so he becomes basically famous because of this story, and everyone is freaking out in the U.S.
Everyone wants to suck his D.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
They didn't.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything about that in any of the reports.
They definitely did.
So that was in June, and then in July, Roswell happens. And so Roswell, we'll definitely do a future episode on. At the time, it was mostly local news.
Right.
It was basically something crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico. Army Airfield releases a statement saying that they recovered a flying disc.
Ew.
And immediately retracts the statement.
Yeah, whoops.
And says it was a weather balloon.
Whoops. Didn't mean to let that slip. Forgive us.
And then again would later retract that statement as well. It's a whole mess. But the point is, the U.S. government was mad concerned about this.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Roswell, we'll definitely talk more about that later. That's like a whole fucking thing in itself. But it's just crazy. This was the same year that all happened. But we really got to get into Muroc? Like The Rock?
I think.
Like Dwayne Muroc Johnson? That's what we're talking about?
Okay. That's what I'm picturing, yeah.
On July 7th, 1947, same month, right? Pilot Major J.C. Wise at the Muroc Army Base, which I guess now is the Edwards Base, right? Like we've talked about that before, I think, or will talk about it.
It's come up.
So this guy, he observed a circular white-yellow object at about 10,000 feet. It flew to the east at what Wise estimated it was 200 to 225 miles per hour. It's oddly specific, Whoa. Wise. Oddly specific.
And then the next day.
Literally the next day.
At 8 a.m. 8 a.m.
Yep.
First thing in the morning. 3 highway department employees near Yuma, Arizona, reported 3 silvery discs flying at a high altitude towards the northeast.
Oh, shit. And then later that morning...
an hour later.
Literally couldn't even finish breakfast. 4 military personnel at Muroc reported 2 circular objects flying against the wind at about 300 miles per hour. They were making these tight circular motions as they receded towards the horizon. And then also at noon that same day, fucking 2 technicians observed an ejection seat test so they were
ejection seat
they were ejaculation seat testing.
No,
they were ejaculating onto seats.
They were 2 technicians observing an ejection seat test.
I got a little ahead of myself there. Oh my God, they were observing ejection seats. No, they were observing aliens. They were observing silvery objects at about 20,000 feet. And then again later that night, that same fucking evening, other pilots, they attempted to intercept what they would describe as a flat object of light reflecting nature.
Yeah, so basically for like 24 hours, all these people all over this area are like, what the fuck is up here? What is this thing?
Right.
And they reported the incident and were told to not discuss it publicly.
Shut up about it. Shut up about it. Hey, you didn't fucking see shit, okay? You didn't.
Hey, what'd you see?
Shit.
What'd you see? You saw nothing.
You saw nothing. Shut up. No one wants to hear you. Oh my God. So yeah, new orders were issued requiring that all unexplained flying saucer incidences, they had to be reported to the T2 division at Wright Field.
Yeah, this was basically where they were studying enemy aircraft during World War II. So they were used to studying weird fucking shit here.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
But you can see that basically at this point, everyone's getting mad concerned.
Yeah, everyone's like, wait a minute, what? I can't talk about the shit I saw? Like, let's...
And what is it? What do we keep saying?
And also, what is it? Yeah, that's also a good question, right? So, yeah, I mean, basically, like, the FBI and, like, all these, like, higher-up people were like, hold on, we got to figure out what this shit is. We got to, like, maybe investigate some of these flying saucers because it's a little strange that they're flying around our military facilities, you know, and it's all
and that
like
there's so many of them.
So many in such a short amount of time. So Lieutenant Colonel George Garrett at the Pentagon in July 1947, yeah, he basically was tasked with the task of analyzing data from 16 flying saucer reports that occurred from May 19th to July 12th. 16 in that fucking time period. That's fucking crazy.
Couple months.
Yeah. He noted that credible eyewitnesses, some of them with scientific or technical training, gave very detailed descriptions of highly unorthodox aircraft that exhibited advanced flight capabilities and were seemingly under intelligent control. And
intelligent control.
Yeah. And what did he say? What did he say?
He said, I love this quote. He said, he was like, you guys, something is really flying around.
Something is really flying around.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Something is really freaking flying around, okay?
It was flying around and he was mad about it.
He was so scared. He got scared.
He was scared and mad, and I'm sure he pooped his pants at one point.
No, he didn't.
He did. That's an official report. So,
well, he basically was like, he asked his superiors at the FBI, he was like, listen, I need to know something. You got to be honest with me here. Tell me the truth. Is this newly developed domestic aircraft that I don't know about?
Right.
And they were just like, no.
A resounding no.
It's not.
Yeah, just like, Nope. They negged him. They said,
Yeah, so as a result, we get into General Nathan F. Twining.
Oh, I love him.
Everyone at this point, really, it starts to become clear that a more thorough investigation is needed. So Twining, who is the head of Intel and Engineering at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, compiles and starts analyzing a bunch of this data, and he reaches a conclusion and sends out this memo. It's a pretty long memo. Yeah, just to sum it up.
He's got a lot of shit to say.
He was pretty heavily worded here, but he basically said that the phenomenon that we're seeing, they're real. They're definitely not visionary or fictitious. And that's super important.
Also, too, like, this would be so expensive. Like, that was like what really stood out to me was like, dude, if we did fucking develop any of this shit, like, it would be so insanely expensive to develop craft like this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense.
He also says that it's really obvious after studying them that while there's a possibility that some of the incidents could be something like natural phenomena, like meteors, they're really moving in a way that they have to be controlled, like doing these crazy maneuvers where like they either have to be controlled remotely or manually, but something is doing this.
Something from another world.
Well, he didn't say that yet.
Not yet, but he was thinking
They were at the time still thinking, you know, maybe this could be
Soviet.
a foreign nation. They did keep saying Soviet, of course, because of the Cold War. But again, they were like, this would be so crazy expensive. And they would have to have new access to a new propulsion technology that we don't have.
It was just out of this world shit. We were trying to rationalize it. Like we just, it couldn't. And so basically Twining or Twinning, whatever the fuck his fucking stupid name is.
Okay.
He recommended that the Army Air Forces issue a directive for detailed study of this matter. So he basically was the guy that was like, okay, we need to take this shit seriously. Like we need to assign, an actual group of people to study this because it needs to be looked at because it's freaking us out. And I'm pooping my pants every day. I need to stop.
What the hell is it?
Yeah, exactly.
And so they did. And so Project Sign is formally authorized in December of 1947.
Yay.
And while it was classified as restricted, the general public knew of it as Project Saucer, which I think is really adorable.
Yeah, exactly. That was like their front-facing self. Like they really just had two personalities. Like the public-facing was the cute saucer. Like, oh yeah, we're just so cute. Like we're just like little flying saucers, like going around. But then, behind the scenes, it was like serious shit. Like serious.
It was serious shit. Yeah. They basically were. Their main goal was to collect and study data from the sightings, anything that seems like it could be a concern to national security. They were located at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And the director was Robert Snyder.
Yeah, he's a guy.
He's a man. And he's surrounded by a crew of aeronautical engineers, nuclear experts, missile experts, for the most part, whatever. But one of these engineers specifically will hold on to his name. I don't know how to say it though.
Loading. All these
Leoding.
people have dumb fucking names. All right, like
whatever. We'll call him Alfred because that's his first name. Alfred.
Okay. All right, Al.
So Al has mad experience. He was working on aircraft designs for the military and for private companies. He's one of the only people in America at this time with firsthand experience with rocket engines. So they were like, oh yeah, Al's our guy for this.
Oh yeah, he had a lot of experience with rockets, fucking like pocket rockets specifically.
Yeah. And they'd start dividing UFOs into 4 categories. And these are going to be flying discs, cigar-shaped, balloon, and balls of light.
And penis-shaped.
And I think that would be cigar-shaped.
No, because some of them had tips.
Okay, great. So, let's get into some of the major investigations they had to deal with at this time because they're freaking nuts.
Oh my God, we got to talk about the Mantell case.
The Mantell incident.
The Mantell Williams incident. So on January 7th, 1948. So again, this was Project Sign's first major investigation. They were so gung-ho, like ready to do it. Air Force pilot captain Thomas Mantell Williams crashed. Not really. His name was actually Thomas Mantell.
Thomas Mantell.
But it's Mantell Williams. Let's be real. He crashed his aircraft near Franklin, Kentucky while in pursuit of a UFO. So basically, he was chasing some fucking craft around and he
wasn't the only one that saw it either. There was like a ton of witnesses on the ground. He also had a bunch of buddies flying out after the object with him. They ended up abandoning their pursuit because this thing just kept climbing so high that they were getting worried about the altitude.
Go that high. We can't. We're gonna pass out. We don't have the.
Mantell said no.
We don't have the oxygen, and Mantell was like, "I am bold. I'm a bold boy, so I'm gonna fucking go up there." So anyway, it's presumed that he blacked out from oxygen deprivation at about 15,000 feet, which is pretty fucking high. Because that's when he crashed and died. And so the U.S. Air Force, they formally announced that Mantell had died in pursuit of the planet Venus.
Oh my God. And fuck you. Honestly, like I'm so mad about this. So this guy's tombstone says Mantell, great pilot, accomplished so much in his lifetime, died in the pursuit of fucking Venus.
Yep, he was just a
Are you
big
kidding
dumb.
me?
He was a big dumb idiot that thought he saw a UFO, but really it was Venus. Aw, poor idiot. What a poor dumb guy.
Ridiculous.
So insulting to his family. Like, oh my
They should be
God. Like,
ashamed.
what is his family doing about that, man? Like, obviously, so Project Sign, they investigated this and they did not accept that explanation. They were like,
Hell no.
that did not happen. No, he really was chasing a UFO. Like, it makes perfect
Right.
sense, you know, and everybody vouched for him. Like, yeah, he was a little like too crazy. He was like Icarus. He flew too close to the sun and he fucking died because of it. But no, he really did chase a UFO. Let's pour some out for Montel Williams.
Yeah, definitely pour some out. Also, in April of 1948, 3 balloon technicians
What
at
even is
Holloman
that?
Air Force
What
Base.
is
I don't know.
What's a balloon technician? I imagine it's just like a balloon artist, like that makes balloon animals.
Yeah, they're just hanging around the Air Force Base making balloon animals.
They're just
To make the
clowns.
pilots happy.
They're just fucking clowns.
They're in New Mexico at the Holloman Air Force Base, and they reported 2 unusual white circular objects
Yeah.
moving erratically at high altitude and high speeds. And as balloon experts, they'll definitely know. And they said they were definitely not balloons.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty important to me.
Right. No, they're definitely not balloons. And this was also a case that was reported as an unknown. Basically, it was filed away as like an unknown in Project Sign's like official files, you know, because it's like, oh, we know what that is.
Right.
We don't know what that is. Or that's like, you know, there's some gray area there, but they were like, we don't fucking know what that is. Yeah. And then another incident, we're going to introduce somebody very pro to this whole thing. So basically in May of 1948, 2 witnesses near Memphis, Tennessee claimed to have observed 50 to 60 silvery objects moving at high altitude and in tight formations. 50 to fucking 60? 50 to 60?
I think they were full of shit.
50 to 60 is so many.
I think they were full of shit. Honestly, this one sounds like it doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. But the important thing is Sign took it very seriously.
Yeah.
And they decided to bring in a very intelligent astronomer.
They did.
To be like, what is this?
Our boy.
What phenomena could this be? Yeah, they brought in our man.
Our husband, J. Allen Hynek.
Our Lord and Savior.
Yes, worship him. He came in, you know, he was he was teaching astronomy at Ohio State University. He was hired by Project Sign as basically a consultant to help weed out UFO reports, which could be misidentified.
I think Sign also thought this case was bullshit, and they were like, we just got to get this guy in here so we can tell them that it was a meteor shower.
Exactly. They were like, please come in and tell these idiots what's what. But then, you know, he became rather skeptical as well. You know, wasn't smooth sailing for Hynek. Getting
No,
more
he was
into
mad
that.
skeptical at this point.
We'll get more
But
into that.
keep a little star next to his name.
Exactly. Yeah, he has a lot going on with him. Anyway, okay, so the most famous of Sign's investigations was the Child's Witted encounter. So, you know, this was a real turning point for Project Sign. So basically the Child's Witted UFO encounter happened over Montgomery, Alabama in, you know, again, July 1948, like really like just hot UFO next
One
summer.
after another.
Even the next summer was hot UFO summer. So basically in this case, 2 experienced airline pilots, both veterans of combat flying during World War II, so they weren't like, you know, just bullshit people. They reported that a penis-shaped UFO.
It was cigar shaped.
Okay, whatever.
Don't do this.
It was about 100 feet long. Imagine that penis. It emitted a reddish exhaust and it approached them on a near collision course.
It almost hit them.
It almost hit them.
And they were so freaked out by this incident. They said that they could see a double row of like what looked like ports or windows.
Oh,
and like,
my God, yes.
Why would they need windows if there wasn't people in there?
They saw fucking windows that suggested the object was possibly occupied. Because, yeah, why would you have windows if nothing was looking out of those windows? You know?
Oh, yeah. And the windows were like emitting a weird bluish, whitish light, it said.
Of course. So that guy,
There were people in there. Well, there were aliens in there.
they were friends. They were buds. They were dudes.
Yeah, they were like real scared.
Yeah. So they pooped their pants a bunch. Loading.
Childs and Witted.
Loading or loading, whatever
Al.
the fuck. Al. Oh, yeah, Al. They interviewed Childs and Witted 2 days after the incident. And yeah, they were pretty impressed by the testimony. You know, they were like, fucking, these guys are legit. And then that guy,
These guys pooped their pants.
They pooped
Why
their
would
pants.
they poop their pants if they didn't believe their testimony?
Exactly, man. Exactly. That's what I keep trying to say. Like, why poop your pants? Why just poop your pants?
I think poop in pants is like a definite sign that you've seen an alien.
That's 100% just like closed case, man. Like,
It is.
take that, non-believers.
So Sign actually investigated this specific case for several months.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ones that really started to freak them out. And they kind of...
It was more serious than the Montel Williams case. It was.
It was. By the end of this case, they kind of started to be like, look, this was aliens.
It's 100% aliens. You're a fool to not believe that it's aliens. Basically, it was like, it's an interplanetary hypothesis. That's like what their official thing.
That's what they officially call it.
Interplanetary hypothesis.
Okay.
We did poop our pants, but this is what we call it.
So in September, they released the estimate of the city.
Oh, the situation. We got a situation. What if it was just the situation from Jersey Shore? What if he gave this report?
He just comes out.
We got a situation.
Like, it's aliens.
It's aliens. It's like, I would take him seriously, honestly. If he
for sure.
I can see him. Fucking Tom DeLonge is like Mr. UFO. Why not the situation as well? You know, like.
Why is there not a show already where Tom DeLonge and the situation go out to investigate UFOs together?
All right. Well, if we ever get...
Actually, scratch that. I got to pitch this. We're not going to keep...
Nobody record this. Nobody take notes of this. We are going to do this, okay?
Ignore this. I'm going to do this.
We'll sue you if this idea comes to fruition. That's not us doing it.
This is trademarked.
Okay, well, let's talk about what the situation said. So the situation...
It's fucking nuts what the situation says.
Yeah.
As RuPaul explains in his book,
yeah,
it basically said the situation was the UFOs. The estimate was that they were interplanetary.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
Yeah.
He really meant it.
He did. Yeah, and so in that same... 1948, you know, the estimate was approved by... Colonels William Klingerman and Howard McCoy. I think these were both Snyder's supervisors. They submitted the documents to General Charles P. Cabell, who he comes up later.
Yeah. It just kind of like continued to go up the chain of command.
Yeah, he was the chief of the Air Force intelligence. So he was like the head guy. And basically in the Pentagon, opinions about UFOs were pretty divided. You know, honestly, like some were pretty serious about it. Like they were like, yeah, this shit is real. I've pooped my pants before. Like I understand that this like matters. This is actually happening. But others believed, you know, that it was just like, whatever, like these guys are on the hooch. They're not.
But I think
serious.
It's really important to understand that despite the fact that the Pentagon was super divided, they still thought that the report was credible enough that it continued to go up the chain of command. Like everyone that saw it was like, yep. Perfect. Everything looks great here. You might be nuts for saying it's fucking aliens, but your report looks great. I'm going to keep moving this forward.
So they moved it up to the chief of staff, General Hoyt S. Vandenberg.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's your first problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Your name is Hoyt.
Knew what was coming there.
Shut up, dude. Your name is Hoyt. What is Hoyt even short for?
That's just like a sound your mouth makes. It's not an actual name.
It's like a vomit sound. Hoyt.
Yeah.
Hoyt. It's like you're hawking a loogie. Oh my God.
So Hoyt took one look at this and he was like, Hoyt.
Yeah. He hoided it out of existence. He
Yeah,
hoided
no, he
that
really
shit.
did.
He said that there was a lack of supporting physical evidence, and he fucking rejected it. He rejected the estimate of the situation.
And not only that, but he ordered all copies of the estimate be destroyed.
That's weird to me. That's weird.
So fucking weird.
Why destroy everything? You know, it's like, oh, this is bullshit. Destroy it all. Burn it.
Yeah, what's your fucking problem, Hoyt?
Exactly. Like, what? Like, why not just file it away? Just, I don't know. It's just very strange. But yeah, apparently a few copies of the alleged, report, it was saved. It was saved. People saved them.
They think that there are some saved
Think that
copies.
some are saved. And so basically it's like, yeah, it's described as like the holy grail of ufology.
Yeah.
So it's like a big thing.
It's basically a report by the Air Force saying these craft are alien craft. This is alien technology. We're being visited by otherworldly beings.
Exactly.
So, like, obviously, if we can get our hands on it, it's very, very cool.
Yeah, well, we did. Apparently, we did. That's why we're talking about it now. I mean, somebody had to know about some of the shit. But yeah, so about the same time this was happening, the estimate was working its way up the ranks. There was another group that was arguing against any extraterrestrial origins.
Yeah, headed by some dude named fucking Major Boggs.
Major Boggs is a real fucking douche, all right? This dude gets no ass. He fucking is an incel little fucking piece of shit, all right?
They called him the Saucer Killer.
Cool. Wow. You're really awesome. So under Boggs' guidance, a real douche, he basically was very anti-extraterrestrial. And he was like the big naysayer of the group. He argued that
he basically was saying, and from what I can tell, he did like no research or anything. He just basically was like, nah. So they were like, oh, we've compiled all these months of data and like months of research and studied really hard. And we've come up with the fact that this is most likely interplanetary. And then Boggs, whoever this fucking asshole is, took one look at it and was like, nah.
He said,
and formed an entire other committee to test it. And this ended up going to the whatever the hell the National Bureau of Standards is.
Ew, I don't know what that is.
And they had a debate there in November of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Boggs's anti-alien group won.
Yeah, they had a debate. The rejection, it definitely took its toll on Project Sign. So again, like Project Sign is kind of like backing this whole thing. So many people like in government, in higher ranking positions, like were supporting this at the time, the extraterrestrial like hypothesis, like obviously it had been squashed, like all the like momentum, all the enthusiasm, it had been, just basically shat upon because of fucking Boggs, like this fucking douche that I hope is dead now.
Oh my God.
He better be dead.
I also saw that they like originally, once everyone was like, no, it's not aliens. You have to like come up with something better. Sign was asked to like provide a different explanation and not include extraterrestrials. And they basically provided the exact same report. But like, with like the word extraterrestrial omitted every time, basically. Like they were like, I don't know how to do this. It's definitely aliens.
Yeah, it's just like
they were like, yeah, this not alien spacecraft landed in not a place visited by aliens.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah,
they couldn't not say aliens. It was so clear that it was aliens.
So that shit was dissolved real quick.
Anyway, so that shit was dissolved. Yeah, so it was like late 1948 at this point. So again, just the time.
Yeah.
It's 1948. Like during this time, Project Sign was
setting the mood.
Just that's how everybody in the 40s talk. Project Sign was discontinued, but it did resurge.
Well, the public needed an answer because they were like still waiting for an answer.
Exactly.
And the government would not let them go with aliens. So they were like, well, we got to tell them something.
Right. Okay. So Project Grudge lasted from 1949 to 1949, LOL.
Yeah. Basically, everyone was like, fuck these nerds that think aliens are real. Let's get in there and just beat them all up.
Let's fucking call it Project Grudge because, like, we're doing this begrudgingly, you know?
Yeah.
And so this was headed by our boy, Ruppelt, right? Captain
Ruppelt
Edward
was in charge. Yeah.
He was. Yeah, he was cool.
But they were basically, not even basically, they were like specifically ordered to create a skeptical atmosphere. They went in there and they were like, all right, all those last losers, like they decided that aliens were real and we're going to show them what's up, huh, boys?
Yeah,
And
we're going
then-
to show them that nothing is worth believing in at all. So Ruppelt, he referred to the project in his book, he referred to the Project Grudge era as the dark ages of official Air Force UFO investigations. It was basically committed, exactly like you said, like to an anti-UFO stance.
Yeah, they said that personnel were doing little to no investigation, treating the whole fucking thing like a joke, laughing about it behind scenes, but then on the front claiming that UFOs were still being thoroughly investigated. It was a scam.
Yeah, it was a big scam. It was basically just like saving face. It really, it lasted like less than a year, man. Like it did. It like officially it like ended in that same year of December, but I guess it was still operating in like some capacity until 1951.
No, I mean, it was basically a public disinformation campaign though, because they were saying that UFO reports were basically just being popularized in the media by, quote, hoaxes and crackpots, and saying
on the
that
hooch.
Yeah, they said everyone's out here, they're on the hooch, and the Air Force, we really think it's nonsense, but we have to report it for you guys. And it's just such bullshit because the public has no idea that Twining demanded we start these investigations because he said that it was a real and not visionary phenomenon. The public also doesn't know about the estimate of the city.
You keep saying city. I don't know what you're saying. It's Sitchy. The Sitchy. The situation.
Regardless about any of this,
I like it, Tal. I do like it.
The Sitchy?
I like the city. No. Estimate of the city. Yeah. We'll go with that.
Despite all this hate, all this bullshit, 20% of the reports would still be classified as unexplained.
Exactly.
So,
but
which they kind of like brushed over. They're like, oh, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Yeah, we can't figure out what 20% of these are.
Yeah, but like don't pay attention to that.
And of course the public like lost their mind. They're like, what do you mean?
Like, what are you talking about? I see this shit all the time. I see this shit all the time. And then the final report of Grudge. So again, it was very short-lived, very much like not a thing. But the final like official report indicated that there was no direct threat to national security and investigations should be reduced.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so they're just like, no, like we shouldn't be doing this. And then there was actually a recommendations section of the report. That's my favorite. That was actually by our boy J. Allen Hynek, you know, our man of the hour, and he recommended that everybody just needs to fucking educate themselves.
Yeah, he said everyone just needed to be schooled.
Yeah, just fucking school yourself on like what is actually going on in space, man. Like
just learn about a single star, he said.
Just stop seeing shit and then telling us about it because it's stupid. That guy Montel Williams died chasing Venus. Like we can't have any more of this fucking shit happen, you know?
My favorite part about the report was that they said that it's apparent that any further study along present lines would only confirm these findings.
Oh, yeah.
So like we found nothing and don't even look into it because you'll find nothing too.
Right. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's a great like free society. I love being in.
So the problem with all of this, though, is that UFOs are literally still happening. So even though they're up there and they're like, yeah, UFOs aren't real, like they are still a thing. So that brings us into September of 1951.
Oh, yeah.
There was a radar and visual encounter near Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. Pilots and radar operators recorded encounters with a number of fast-moving, highly maneuverable, disc-shaped aircraft.
Oh, shit.
And high-ranking personnel ordered an investigation because they were concerned for their pilots and their military. And the investigation was given over to Grudge, which at this point is literally just a man named Jerry. And Jerry did his darndest. And
Jerry what? He doesn't have a last name?
Well, it's Cummings.
Oh, ew, that doesn't make it better.
No.
Ew, was it a penis-shaped UFO?
I don't know. I'm sure he was a normal man. But he was investigating. He did his darndest to investigate, and he determined that these craft were absolutely intelligently controlled.
Oh my God,
And
Jerry. No one's going to listen to you.
so Jerry is ordered to turn in this report to Major General Cabell. We meet him once again.
Corbell, my mentor in journalism.
It is not Corbell. It is Cabell, the head of the Air Force Intelligence at the Pentagon, someone with a real job. So basically, Jerry tells him what he's learned, and I can only imagine that Cabell is like, so it's just you. Like, where's everyone else? Like, what happened? And he orders this man to like speak freely, and poor Jerry is just like, yeah, listen, everyone at Grudge treated the whole thing like a huge joke, and Cabell just loses his mind because he's like, yeah, I need to know what is threatening our military. And he says in quotes, anyone without an open mind can get out now. And was like, yeah, we need to do this again. He said, anyone can see that we do not have a satisfactory answer to the saucer question. So he gets Ruppelt again, and he's like, listen, Ruppelt, you're a great organizer. People like what you do. Get in there, and we're going to try this again, and we are going to get to the bottom of this. And don't tell anyone what we're doing, because I don't want the public to know that we're taking it seriously, but we need to figure out what the shit is and enter Project Blue Book.
Yeah, so now we're getting to the main event. Thank you for sitting through all of that. Now we're at the main event. It's Project Blue Balls. It's going from 1952 to 1969, a great year for 69ing, you know, if you're into that kind of thing.
Cool.
And yeah, it was led by Ruppelt. And yeah, so he wanted everybody to stay neutral. He was wanting to be as neutral as possible. He did. He kicked out anyone who was biased, right? He kicked out anyone
in either direction.
Anyone who was too much of a skeptic, anyone who was too much of a believer. Yeah. So like I love that, you know? He's like,
do you want to talk about why they named it Project Blue Book?
Oh, it's some fucking bullshit, man. It's like, okay, so basically at the time in the fucking 50s or whatever bullshit era this was, it was like
it was 1952, guys.
Yeah, so in this time, everyone in college, they took their little tests in like these blue books. And so that's why it was named Project Blue Book, because basically like high-ranking officers, the high-ranking officers were like paying as close attention to the UFO studies as they were if it was like an important college final exam. And it was just like, you're such a nerd, dude. I
don't know about you, but I was super interested in Project Blue Book until I learned why they called it Project Blue Book, and then I wanted to change the topic for the show. I never heard that.
Cooler. I thought it would be a cooler explanation. It's really not that great, and it makes me hate everyone involved here.
So this is around the time that Ruppelt gets in there, though, and starts calling flying saucers unidentified flying objects.
Yeah, he's the UFO daddy. He was the coinage daddy. He's the coinage daddy of UFOs. So everybody better, you know, respect him.
He also brought Hynek in as a scientific consultant.
He did.
So Hynek's back on the team.
He's fucking, you know, they're just like getting bitches. Like
they're getting bitches. They're not getting bitches.
They are getting bitches.
They are not. Imagine them at the local bar and they're describing why they named it Project Blue Book.
Okay, but how could there not be bitches like fucking so into this, man? Like wow, you guys met aliens? And they're like, yeah, we fucking suck alien titties all day long. And then they're
Okay.
like,
No, this is
okay.
all disinformation. So,
All right, I'm
Hynek-
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing on air for my cancellation.
Hynek, while he's at Project Blue Book, would create the categorization for close encounters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
Close encounters of the first kind is a visual sighting of an unidentified flying object
Yep.
less than 500 feet away. Close encounter of the second kind is a physical effect. So if an animal reacts to a UFO, or if you get paralyzed, or if you get burned from a UFO, that's all a second encounter.
yeah, no big deal. No big deal. If you get burned by a UFO, it's like, what? Excuse me? That's only second? What? I literally got burned by it, and that's only the
Okay,
second?
well, the third kind is literally seeing an alien, anything humanoid, robotic, a pilot within a UFO, in other words, an
Okay.
alien. And of course, it would, not at the time, but it would later also include the fourth kind, which is getting abducted, and the fifth kind, which is when you can most likely telepathically communicate with an alien.
What's the sixth kind?
Shit, I don't know.
Probably
I guess
like
becoming an alien.
no, probably like sucking alien dick or motorboating alien titties. That's the sixth. That's the sixth kind. Anyway,
Great.
okay, so let's talk about this special report number 14.
Yeah, so RuPaul is tired of how unorganized all this shit is,
Right.
and develops a standard questionnaire so
Yes.
that when you're a witness to a UFO, you can answer these specific questions, and he can just like categorize you. It's based off of the type of report, so like how close you were to the object, like what type it is, the credibility of the witness. So if you were drunk on the farm versus if you're a airline pilot,
Yeah. Are you on the hooch or not?
right, if you're on the hooch. So were people in the 40s really on the hooch? Is that the problem?
Yes. I keep telling you this. Everybody in the 40s was on the hooch. Like, it's just like known. It's just known. Come on. Have you ever read a history book?
Never.
Okay.
So he gets a team of researchers together at the Battelle Memorial Institute, and they start organizing this data into computers.
Okay.
And
Computers in the 40s, or in the 50s rather. Like, that's, imagine that.
just imagine.
Just imagine.
But
no porn.
They
just alien titties.
They categorize it into knowns, unknowns, and insufficient info.
Right.
And in order for something to be classified as an unknown, it needs to get the support of all 4 analysts on the team. So like every report will have 4 analysts assigned to it. 2 analysts can look at the data and be like, yeah, this is a known report. We know what this is. But
Right.
you need all 4 to be like, we have no fucking idea what this is, for it to be classified as an unknown.
Right. Okay. And so the results from 3,200 reports. So, they started with 3,200, which honestly, like, isn't that much. But out of the 3,200, 69, nice word, known. Okay, whatever. 9% was insufficient. And then fucking 22%.
22%.
22% was unknown.
And only
What?
1.5% were crackpot cases. So fuck
Okay,
you
whatever.
guys.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, but like fucking 22% unknown. Like, are you serious?
It's insane. It's insane. And the Air Force would later, in 1955, would release a report on this where they straight up lie.
Yeah, they
just
lied.
lied and
They just
said that
lied.
it was 3%. Like they just made up a number.
Oh, it's just 3%. Like, it's just 3%. We don't know. But it's like, in reality, like, now that we know, like, we have access to all this like actual information, like, it was actually fucking 22%. So like, what the fuck, man? What
22.
the fuck?
That's crazy.
All right, we gotta talk about the Robertson panel, because this shit is wild.
Right. So I feel like at this point, the government kind of felt like Blue Book was like having its little fun, like whatever they're investigating over there, but shit keeps ramping up. And in 1952, July of
Right.
1952, the Washington Flap incident happens.
Oh my god,
which-
this shit is crazy.
Well, we got into it a little bit in our president's episode. But basically, it was a series of visual sightings and radar detections over the National Airport in Washington, D.C., over the course of multiple weekends in a row. Very highly detailed, lots of credible witnesses. It was very publicized throughout the country. The CIA was like, look, the American people are banging down the door right now to figure out what's going on. We need to formulate a response ASAP. So they create a panel to review all the evidence that Blue Book has collected so far. This has been 12 months of research within Blue Book. The panel includes Ruppel and Hynek, as well as a bunch of other physicists and engineers.
Yeah.
And they review all this evidence for a whole fucking 12 hours.
Wow, 12 hours. Wow. That's like less time than we spent to fucking research this fucking episode.
Literally, yeah. And they basically come back and they're like, you know what? UFOs, they aren't shit.
They're like, nah, this fucking isn't worth the effort. This shit is overloading the intelligence channels. We need to fucking debunk the UFO phenomena.
That was their answer. So basically, Washington is like, what the hell is flying over our skies? And this panel says it's no big deal. And we need to start getting the public to think it's no big deal as well.
Exactly.
They start a debunking campaign.
Right. So basically what it is, you know, they utilize like very popular media, you know, it's like Disney, psychologists, astronomer, like they basically reach out to like anybody that's like popular.
Carl Sagan.
They got to Carl Sagan. They did. But they've done this before. So they did this fucking shit before with the draft. Like they had like this whole cartoon called Donald Duck Gets Drafted, and it's like this pro draft like propaganda shit that's going on. It's like we think that like America doesn't have propaganda shit happening. It's like we absolutely do. And so yeah, and then Carl Sagan too. It's like everybody loves Carl Sagan, but he was 100% part of this like debunking campaign too. So he is on record stating that the UFO craze was a religious. Thought it was like religious in nature. He chalked it up to being like Cold War fear. And the people that were interested in UFOs, basically they were just like comforted by the possibility of aliens coming to save them.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You know?
Are you fucking kidding me? Like what person ever had this thought, Carl?
I know, Carl. Like somebody definitely got to Carl and told him to just like say this shit, you know?
And someone got to Neil deGrasse and has been saying the same bullshit today. This is literally the exact same
It's the same script. It's the same shit. Like we're just falling for the same goddamn thing. Yeah.
So they also said that NICAP and other UFO groups need to be monitored. NICAP being like a civilian UFO research group.
Yeah, that developed during this time.
A threat
yes.
Because of how much they can like sway public opinion, and they need to be monitored and discouraged.
Yeah, so the Robertson panel, like, you know, this was fucking bullshit, pure disinformation. They concluded that 90% of UFO sightings could be explained. And, you know, that they, you know, the other 10%, like, if they had more time.
If we had more time, we'd figure it out.
More time or more funding. Like, yeah, I could definitely figure out, like, the rest of it. Like,
yeah, we could. We just don't want to.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. And then in 1953, Regulation 146 comes out.
Oh my God.
This is honestly, guys, this part gets really crazy. So basically, they said that it's now a crime for the military to discuss classified UFO reports with unauthorized persons. If you do discuss these UFO reports, you could face 2 years in prison or $10,000 fine. And the Air Force also issues a regulation saying that you can only publicly discuss UFO incidents if they've been solved. So this is where the shit gets mad sketch. So you can only discuss UFO incidents if they've been solved. That said, the exact same month, the 4,602nd Air Intelligence Squadron, or AISS, is formed, right? And any UFO case that has a national security implication attached to it would need to be investigated by them instead.
Wow.
So basically what they're saying is if a incident occurs and it's easily explainable as a weather balloon, then it'll be open to the public. It'll be investigated by Blue Book and they can discuss it all they want. But as soon as they're like, we don't know what it is, they're not even allowed to discuss it. And it gets sent to this secret, shadowy government agency that's secretly investigating. And the public has no idea. This is crazy.
Like, yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, okay. Like, you want us to investigate UFOs? Like, sure. But then it's like, actually, like, they're very upset about it. They're very mad about it. And then at this point, Rupel, our boy, you know, he requests to be reassigned. You know, he's like, he's done with this shit. He's actually on record saying that, you know, UFOs aren't extraordinary. And he actually called them a space age myth.
I feel so bad for what they've done to our boy Rupel.
Look, Rupel,
like, this is the biggest. Rupel and Montel, they need
Montel Williams. They need proper burials.
They do.
All right. Anyway, let's talk about the later years of Project Blue Book.
Oh my God, the later years are such bullshit. It's such bullshit. So
it's
like,
honestly bullshit.
1963. Major Hector, I don't know. I kept calling him Major Hector Quinty, took over.
Quintanilla.
He is a known skeptic before he even gets on the project.
He doesn't give a shit.
No, and he just wants to make it less credible than it already is, which is already like not credible at all.
Right.
And of course, while this is happening, the U.S. still is having all of these major UFO sightings. Like in 1965, the summer of 1965, the Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma saw multiple multicolored lights, lots of witnesses, large aerial objects.
Yeah.
And the Air Force Base tracked 4 UFOs simultaneously.
Dude. It's like so similar to like what's going on right now with David Fravor and everything. It's like
it's the exact same thing.
It's the same thing where it's like basically it's like they witnessed them at like 22,000 feet or whatever, and then literally in a second drops to 4,000 feet.
In the 60s.
Yeah, in the 60s.
It's crazy.
This shit has been happening.
And this like same night they had seen the objects in like as far as like Texas too, I was seeing. Just lots of witnesses, and Blue Book, quote unquote, investigated this. And they said that everyone had been mistaking Jupiter.
Yeah, Jupiter. Yeah.
Which is awesome because Jupiter at this time was on the opposite side of the world.
Right. So you're fucking dumb. All right.
They're like not even trying anymore. What all the UFO reports at the time, this is what happened. Like every time they're like, oh, it was just a star. Oh, it was a communication satellite. Like, oh, it was this. Like they were just full of shit.
We got to talk about the biggest full of shit thing. And that was the swamp gas incident. So basically,
oh my fucking God.
In Ann Arbor, Michigan in 1966, this was a big year for a lot of sightings too. Same thing. A bunch of multicolored lights were witnessed. And then Hynek
by hundreds of people.
Yeah. Hynek, our boy, he was like, oh, it was probably swamp gas.
So here's the thing, though. These reports were coming in from all over this area. Even the sheriff is quoted as saying that they were some of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
Right.
Like people were just like really freaked out by these like crazy lights that were like zooming across the sky and hovering. There's like all these reports of people of just like watching UFOs, and Hynek was sent out to investigate, but he later came forward as really regretting his statement about swamp gas. He says that he was basically told that whatever you say, you can't say that it's a flying saucer. Like, you've got to get these people off the case. And that's what he did. And the rest of his life would talk about how he really regretted saying swamp gas, how he knows he discredited a whole movement. And he actually goes on to say that this specific case is one of the ones that really convinced him that we were dealing with something extraterrestrial or something freaking weird.
There was an interview. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but in 1985, there was actually an interview with Hynek where he said that, initially he was dismissive of UFOs, but it couldn't be that, he knew in his heart that it actually was not earthly. Like he knew that
because he studied so many of them that he was like, this is something else. And he was like fully bunked by the end of his research.
Fully bunked. So basically at the same time that this swamp gas shit was happening, Congressman Gerald Ford. So before presidenthood.
Repres.
Yeah, Gerald Ford, he actually called for a congressional hearing because he was like fully bunked at this point. He was like, we cannot let this be a thing. We cannot let this just be like washed away. Like we need to really hear what like the people in charge have to say about it. And the Air Force said that it was just training exercises, and there was actually no records of planes flying at the time of the sightings.
Ridiculous.
And then they also accredited another sighting to be a flying billboard that was advertising gas.
Billboard.
A flying billboard? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Nobody does that.
I mean, so it was more or less this for years, just more of the same. Eventually, Hynek actually in 1965 was like, we really got to start looking into these reports. He writes a letter to the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board asking them to convene a panel to re-examine Blue Book. Because he was sick of how it was being treated like such a damn joke. He said he wanted a civilian panel of physical and social scientists. Everyone basically agreed. They started to try to get this panel together, and no surprises here. It was just also taken like a joke. They had Edward Condon, a physicist at the University of Colorado.
Edward Condon.
Of course, Edward Condon. He was in charge of the study, and it was hard to get people to even sign on to it because they just thought it was a bunch of bullshit. They tried to include NICAP, but eventually like a memo started circulating from a committee member saying that everyone could rest assured the study would find that UFO observations had no basis in reality. Also, Condon himself was quoted as saying the condom was quoted as saying that the government shouldn't even bother to study UFOs because the subject was nonsense. And then he in quote said, but I'm not supposed to reach that conclusion for another year. So, I mean,
whoa.
Yeah. So this again, obviously just dissolved into nothing. The Condon Committee released their report in November of 1968 saying that, quote, nothing has come from the study of UFOs in the last 21 years that has added to the scientific knowledge.
Right.
And so the Air Force officially closed Project Blue Book.
And basically, again, their final findings were that no UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of threat to our national security. There was no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represented technological developments or principles beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge, and there was no evidence indicating that sightings categorized as identified were extraterrestrial vehicles. It's like, wow, so just so confident in your findings. And then this is just my favorite point. So basically, of the 12,618 sightings
almost
reported
13,000 sightings
reported to Project Blue Book, 701 remain unidentified.
No idea.
That's
no idea
not a fucking small number.
It's massive.
That's not a small number. And then also in like the final reports, there's actually no mention of the Roswell incident.
Of course, because they've been trying to sweep that under the rug for decades.
Yeah.
We will do a whole episode on Roswell, and you guys will all learn exactly how messed up that one was.
They just were like, nah, we're not touching that. We're not
what? That never happened. Never heard of it.
That didn't happen. No.
So basically, at the end of the day, Blue Book concluded that UFOs were the result of mass hysteria, individuals who fabricate reports, psychopathological persons, and misidentification of conventional objects. Publicly, this is what they said. Secretly, we know through the Freedom of Information Act that the Air Force has been cataloging and tracking UFO sightings the entire time, especially...
We can't stop.
No, especially the handful of reports that occurred over military bases with nuclear weapons. So, like, the question is, like, where have these reports been going? Who's been studying them this entire time? And the Air Force...
They've been going to the Air Force, and they've been going to, for sure, another shadowy organization.
Right. In 2003, the United States Air Force came forward and said that there is no plan to reestablish any investigation force for UFOs. Now we know that this was a blatant lie because we've discovered that in 2007, ATIP has been getting actively funded by the government specifically to study UFOs.
Why is everything so, like, penis-y? You know, it's like the cigar torpedo shaped, like, penis shaped UFOs, and then it's like just...
That's what happens when men are in charge.
ATIP is like really the name of like the secret organization, like
the condom committee. I see
the condom committee, like even Blue Book, blue balls. Like, come on, man. It's all penis shit. Yeah.
All right, guys, listen. That's Blue Book.
That's Blue Book. There's definitely a shit ton more to say about it, but like.
Like you stopped listening.
Yeah, you stopped listening. We stopped caring. So we're not going to talk about it anymore.
Okay. The too long didn't read summary for Blue Book is they said it was definitely aliens. They said that's nerd shit. It's nothing. And then they said it's probably aliens, but stop looking. And that's it.
Yeah, shut up about it. All the like Navy pilots and all the fucking soldiers seeing shit, like, yeah, they're just like, shut up about it. It's like, yeah, thank you for your service.
Yeah, and Montel
Williams
did not die chasing Venus. He was chasing the UFO.
He did not die chasing Venus. Please, let's all agree on that. He was not chasing Venus. He saw a UFO and he was trying to be a hero, and I love him for it.
Yes. All right. We love Montel Williams. Cool. I think we should stop now.
Okay, let's stop. I'm done talking about this. I have other shit to do. Find us online if you are so interested in hearing more of our terrible voices. We have an Instagram. It's TMTYD Pod.
We have a Twitter. That's also TMTYD Pod. We have a Patreon. Take me to your dealer. TMTYD Pod. We have a website. It's TMTYD Pod.
Literally,
what is our website?
Literally nothing is take me to your dealer. Like it's all TMTYD. You better get used to that fucking shit. All right, it's TMTYD. It's easy to say. Like, just don't stress about it. You know, just practice it a few times in the mirror.
Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast on whatever media you choose to listen to us on, because that's super, super helpful.
What else do we have? Do we have a MySpace?
We don't have a MySpace.
Still? Wow, we're really not keeping up with the times, huh? All right, we're gonna go. I love you so much. Please.
Thank you guys for bearing with us through this one.
Yeah, this is a tough one. You guys really are great people.
Catch you next Monday.
Okay, goodbye.
Illegalize it, folks.
Free Kevin Federline.